menu, I mean, as far as like the hot food side of things, like the Dutch baby that we got right now is absolutely
Pears
fire.
and mushroom?
Yeah.
That's the one. Oh.
Yeah, we're using a cheese called Ashbrook and wash rind cheese. Got a nice funkiness to it, little ash layer running through the center. And then that is like Mezcal Negroni barrel aged.
Cheers.
Salud. But yeah, we run that here with the Bartlett pears that we roast off and like preserve those. Like everything goes through some like preservation process when it goes through our kitchen. Lots of focus on fermentation, preservation, in even different ways than just salt curing things. Like I believe in that, but it's like suspending things in oil, like that is a preservation process. Suspending things in water and purposefully like water logging them to like break open cells, and then like dehydrating after that, and you can watch it like flatten out in a different way. Little bits of trickery with preservation that we use.
That sounds like a stonerism if I've ever heard it. It's like watching how it's made or like how it's recreated. Are these, these are great little puff dishes too. Like if you want to catch a fade and then come in here, that just paints an eloquent picture. But now I want to actually try to recreate this dish. You just painted a gorgeous picture of how to transform those mushrooms and everything really. Fuck.
Yeah, that cheese. Now we can talk about this cheese.
Let's talk about it then.
So the cheese in front of us is a cheese called Acid Wash. So there's a collaboration between us, Westbound and Down, and Parish Hill Creamery out in Putney, Vermont. So we make a beer with every year with Westbound and Down. It's called Acid Jazz. We started Acid Jazz the year that we opened, and we make that beer for Jazz Fest in 5 Points. So a couple years back, Rachel went to the American Cheese Society's national convention.
Oh my God, where is that?
It changes every year. This year
they better stay on. I need to get on that radar.
Oh, for
cheese
sure.
Is like you probably don't. I bet every bathroom is just clear. Like no one's taking a shit that week.
Dude,
all the key bumps.
Everybody that's there is living in that cheese world so much. Like to not eat a pound of cheese makes you irregular. Like.
They have to be dairy forward, or
it's like
their diets are like, "Where's your 8 ounces of cheese today?"
Compacted cheese are just like liquid in the guts for them. So
journeyman,
we rolled there, and we had ran into Peter Dixon before, and like Peter is our godfather as far as like American cheese making goes. Like this is like probably going to be.
If you ran into this gentleman, would people know him?
Absolutely not.
Okay, thank you for making sure.
But it's like
who the fuck is this?
It's like if the CEO of Boeing was walking down the street, it's like everybody would be like, "Oh, whose dad is that?" But like
sweet loafers, nerd.
Peter is responsible for 70% of the creameries that exist in the U.S. He's responsible for 500 creameries worldwide. When he got back, he would when we went out there to pick up the first batch of Acid Wash from him at his house, he had just gotten back from the Middle East, where he was teaching this village of people how to get a better yield for the cheese that they were making. They were telling him basically each day somebody has to go up the side of this mountain and milk their goat herd that lives on the mountainside, and what you can carry down in weight as far as milk goes is what your family gets from their cheese making process, where they're basically burying cheese in clay pot or burying milk in clay pots and letting that turn to cheese. Rough translation of what he told me. Pardon my ignorance for not knowing every single thing about cheese. That's a Rachel thing. She does know everything about cheese. It definitely feels that way. But she went there. We hooked up with Peter, and we're we want to do a collaboration cheese with you. And he's I don't even know what the fuck that means. And I had a bottle of Acid Jazz, and this was at the Festival of Cheeses, the mass culmination at the end of the
These are people that jerk it to curd, huh?
Dude, there's some Mennonites there. There's some very fancy Mennonites to talk to that make great cheeses like Prairie Breeze, now currently on our menu.
Nice
and
thread.
yeah, like Peter, like I bust open this beer, like here, I want to wash a cheese in this. It's called Acid Jazz. We make it for the Jazz Fest in 5 Points. And he like tastes it, and he's like, yeah, I like mostly drink barley wines, but like he's like, this has got like a really cool like just like liveliness to it. It was Cab Franc Apricot. It was Acid Jazz number 2. That was the second blend that we made of it. So shipped that out to him, and he washed the cheese in that beer. The cheese is originally called Humble. It's an Italian Tome style cheese. He wanted to make it a little bit different. The original Humble is only half as thick as this. He made it twice as thick because he wanted to have like this differentiation when you looked at the cheese. And so then it was washed over the course of 3 weeks. Every day it's being ran through that beer bath and then set back onto a wood slat and let to dry underneath the earth and the caves that they have. The caves that were originally by a Vermont creamery, they then sold to Peter and his wife Rachel, and so yeah, they're just making like the best like Italian hard style cheeses in the United States, possibly in the world. Peter was just given like a lifetime achievement award in Italy at like their world like cheese cup or whatever like crazy shit they have there. It might have been something slow foods oriented, but all I know is Peter got an award that like no American has ever been considered for, and he makes this cheese with us, and yeah, it is absolutely phenomenal. I love it. It's like my favorite cheese to eat. And it's not just because like we're a part of it. Like, no, this cheese is something different. Like we're part of something like that and feels good. I love doing these collabs.
Dude, I can see the excitement on your face, and I have 3 questions. I didn't write any of them down, but I listened to 2/3 of that because the first third I just kept imagining the crowd and how interesting it must be at a cheese convention. The second part I wondered
There's a girl that rolls around. You can find her. Like,
she literally rolls around.
She rolls around and she like wears a necklace that says cheese slut on it. Like
I just called myself
all
a bread
gold
slutter,
necklace.
so
like
I don't throw shade at that.
Outfits.
I just for those that get.
But that's her whole persona.
Yeah, but like I'm stupid because I smoke weed every day. If you're eating cheese every day, I can only imagine and if there's a culmination of accumulation of these people, then I can only imagine. That's what I spent the first 15 minutes of that. The second part was, is Italy known? Are they they determine who is cheese gods and who are not? Because I bet the French and the Italians would fight over that.
There is basically like a whole European cheese council that they have.
Yeah, there's gotta be.
So
that's awesome.
If you want to go one level deeper, like fucking take a couple puffs and think about this bad boy. So
drop it on me.
Peter has started the Cornerstone Project. So he makes a cheese called Cornerstone.
Is he in the Illuminati? Because I'm sure the Illuminati has to have a cheese guy, and I'm sure they went to the old world for it, but he's got to be.
Peter is an old farmer who is like straightforward. He's not like the super nice, like nicest guy all the time, but he's like straightforward. But for some reason, he fucking loves me and Rachel, and it's a real nice feeling. I remember this first time Rachel saw him in public, she started crying. Like she feels that passionately about cheese that when she actually like saw Peter Dixon and he like came up, we were doing some like little event up in the Highlands, and he was there cutting his wheels, and we're doing a dish. It was like crispy pork cheek on top of like house-made ricotta, and we had like a little spelt cookie with it, and like this little peach gastrique. And Peter comes over. He's like, "Can I have one?" And she's like, holds out like the whole dish, and he's like, "No, I don't want like to taste that other shit. I just want to taste your cheese." And she like takes a spoonful, and he's like, He's like, "What creamery do you work for?" And she's like, "I don't. Like, I just made that at a restaurant." And he's like, "Well, you should probably stop fucking around and like start working for a creamery for real." And he ends up coming by 2 days later at the end of this like cheese week or whatever was happening in Denver at that point. We were just like we were just like still getting wet, and he like comes in. I'm like, "Peter, how's it going?" He's like, "Hey, I've got wheels to sell you. Like, do you want these?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." And like, they don't sell their cheese like, much farther. Like, it does not go by Chicago.
It's like Yingling.
Yeah, and like their cheese, it's the bomb. So
it is delicious.
I've
been snacking on it.
I'm like, what do you want to eat? And he's just like, anything but cheese.
Yeah, no
and
shit.
So
prosciutto.
I had a half hog that we had on top of the chef's counter, and I was going at it with a Zawsaw like during service, and Peter's just like, I just like cut out the whole middle section of the pig, and I'm just like, this. And he's like, yes, all of that.
I mean, if he's gonna exchange that for the elusive cheese, you have to do that.
Yeah, we got one of those cornerstones. That's Peter's project where he's trying to create an American original. We don't really have any American original cheeses. And like, insert your like American cheese slice joke right now, because like I can see that brewing inside of you.
No, I'm still curious to see what Peter looks like. I am so flabbergasted by this cheese community that I've got to know more about them. I'm going to Google this shit. What's his last name?
Peter Dixon.
Peter Dixon. And I have a sneaking suspicion he's kind of like a Ron Swanson. Like he's going to throw his computer away. He's like, I'm just a cheese farmer. I'm just hanging out doing my thing.
He is doing his thing.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, I mean, it's literally like a whole project that they've got going to like prove to like that European Cheese Council that this is stylistically a new cheese that they've created. And I've tasted those cornerstones, and I've had 2 of the 3, because there's 3 different creameries that are making these cornerstones, and it's your own, like, I'm not good enough with the science behind it to explain it, but yeah, look up the Cornerstone Project. Like, there's probably got to be a .com thing for that.
Yeah, I'm sure the internet, if they really care enough about this cheese, they'll dig deep enough. And so check it out. I would recommend those that love their dairy to give it a holler. But, that's not the acid jazz cheese. I said that right. Way to go, me on the retention span.
Acid wash cheese made from acid jazz beer.
Yeah, so acid jazz. But that's not y'all's only collaboration. Y'all have a couple irons in the fire, if I would say so myself. Tell us a little bit more about what you got on the docket in the coming weeks, months, year.
Yesterday we blended Acid Jazz Volume 5. So this will come out for our 5-year anniversary and Jazz Fest. May 8th was the
We're talking beer,
first
by the
day.
way, for those that are listening. I didn't mean to transition back to...
Oh, you're good, dog.
Yeah, well, if someone thought we were talking cheese, I didn't want them to think that you were over here making...
Yeah, I'm kind of just using nonsense words to describe these. I'm not stylistically talking about things.
So we're making a beer?
Yeah, making a beer. Acid Jazz Volume 5. We've had a different one every year. Like, it was like super crazy popular the first year it came out, where I'm like, I think we got something here. We switch it up every year. This year the blend is going to be golden sour blueberry, like real lightly blended in, with a saison that they made that's got pink peppercorns in it and rosemary, and is a lovely beer that we blended yesterday, and it was really nice. So that'll come out for Jazz Fest.
Okay.
Hopefully,
nice.
Jazz Fest happens this year.
It should, by all accounts, be going on.
Yeah,
Headed to New Orleans in just a week or so.
All prayers for that, for 5 Points Jazz Fest.
Dude, right? And that's where the best food is in the whole city, is those people that have the pop-ups and the things around Jazz Fest for those 2 weeks.
Dude, there's a lot of good things that are happening for Jazz Fest. Like, it's just a different vibe in the on the street over here. It's like...
Wait, are you talking about New Orleans Jazz Fest?
No, 5 Points Jazz Fest. There's like 25,000 people between like 29th Street.
I thought you were talking about New Orleans Jazz Fest, because that is referred to as Jazz Fest. But yeah, 5 Points Jazz Fest is a fucking vibe. I fucking love it. That is probably where the best fit. In fact, both of those sayings play, but I was literally just thinking about, I had said New Orleans, so I thought that's where you were talking about. No, 5 Points Jazz Fest. Tell us a little bit more about what we were discussing. Sorry, I'm flabbergasted myself right there. I was literally on a whole other island, and you were just over here chilling. Okay, yeah. So it's a collab y'all have that's set to release by our Jazz Fest.
Yeah, for the 5 Points Jazz Fest. It's usually like May 18th, somewhere in that pocket. And god damn, this cheese is so nice when it gets to this point. But yeah, I mean, 5 Points Jazz Fest, like, it pops off all day. Usually it's an all Saturday event. We have bands that play in here. We have a whole live music series that we do every Thursday now from like 6 to 8 p.m. and then
fuck yeah.
Oh yeah, like Cole Rudy like has been curating all the music for, and we've just had like bands rotating through, and it's like actually popping off good enough because it's like the bands are just like, oh, those guys are like treat us real